Arthur's April Fool. It was the last day of March. The joke shop was full of people getting ready for April Fool's Day. Arthur and Buster tried out everything. Buster bought sneezing powder. Arthur got a fake telescope that gave whoever looked through it a black eye. But Arthur didn't feel like playing jokes. He kept thinking about Binky Barnes. "Who is Binky Barnes?" asked Buster. "Picture King Kong. Now double it," said Arthur. "He keeps threatening to punch me out." Later that day, Arthur was practicing his magic tricks with Buster and Francine for the April Fool's assembly. "Hey, Shrimp!" A giant shadow covered them. "I'll show you a trick," said Binky Barnes. He grabbed Arthur's favorite pen and put it in his pocket. "Now you see it, now you don't," said Binky. "Hey, watch it," said Arthur, trying to look brave. "Why don't you make me?" said Binky, and walked away. "Pick on someone your own size," called Francine, "like Godzilla." "Wow," said Buster, "you were right. He's going to pulverize you." That night at dinner, Arthur hardly ate anything. He didn't finish his cheeseburger. He didn't even want any chocolate cream pie. "What's the matter with Arthur?" asked his father. "He's worried about getting pulverized," said DW. "Maybe he's been watching too many outer space movies," said his mother. Later on, DW barged into Arthur's room. "Good night, Mr. Universe," she said. "Haven't you ever heard of knocking?" asked Arthur. "After you get pulverized, can I have your room?" she asked. "Bet it, DW." When Arthur finally fell asleep, he had nightmares. The next morning, Francine offered Arthur a cookie. "Yuck," said Arthur. "This tastes like soap and toothpaste." "April Fool," laughed Francine. But Arthur was too worried to laugh. "I'll never remember my magic tricks for the assembly," he said. "Calm down," said Buster. "I'll be your assistant. I'll help if you get stuck." Arthur felt better. He could count on Buster. But just before the assembly, Buster got caught putting sneezing powder on Mr. Ratbun's desk. Instead of going to the assembly, Buster went to the principal's office. "I'll blow it for sure without Buster," thought Arthur. He walked into the auditorium. Who was sitting in the front row? Binky Barnes. This was going to be even worse than he thought. Arthur worried while Mr. Ratburn read people's minds. He worried while Francine and Muffy did shadow tricks. And he worried while the chorus sang that old black magic. Finally, it was his turn. "For my first trick," said Arthur, "I'll need a volunteer." Binky Barnes jumped on the stage. "Surprise, pipsqueak," he whispered. Arthur gulped. Arthur asked Binky Barnes to tear up a sheet of paper and put it in the magic hat. He said the magic words and waved his magic wand to make the paper whole again. But rabbits came out instead. Everyone laughed. Arthur took a bow. By mistake, flowers fell out of his sleeve. Binky Barnes laughed harder than anyone. Then Arthur had an idea. He winked at Francine. "For my next trick, I'll saw this young man in half." Binky stopped laughing and took a step back. "My saw, please," said Arthur. Binky turned pale. "And now the bucket to collect the blood." Binky screamed. He stepped back again, this time right off the stage. Everyone laughed, even Mr. Redburn. After the assembly, Arthur stopped Binky in the hall. "What's the matter, Binky? You left before I could show you my best trick." "No thanks," said Binky Barnes. "Are you sure? It lets you see things you've never seen before," said Arthur. "Really?" said Binky. He grabbed the telescope and pointed it at Francine. "I don't see anything." "Of course not," said Arthur. "You have to know the secret words." "Tell me," said Binky. "I can't," Arthur explained. "They are so secret I have to write them down. Backwards. Do you have a pen?" "Sure. Here," said Binky. Arthur wrote the words. "Now go home. Hold the paper up to the mirror, and you'll be able to read the secret words." "Thanks, Torp," said Binky, as he ran out the door. "Boy, that's your best trick yet," said Buster. "You didn't get pulverized, and you made Binky Barnes disappear." "What did you write?" asked Francine. "April Fool." Arthur's baby. "We have a surprise for you," said Mother and Father. "Is it a bicycle?" asked Arthur. "We're going to have a baby," said Mother. "Oh," squealed D.W. "I love babies." "A baby?" said Arthur. "Yes, in about 6 months," said Father. "Plenty of time for us all to get ready." Arthur's friends had lots of advice. "Better get some earplugs," said Binky Barnes, "or you'll never sleep." "Forget about playing after school," said Buster. "You'll have to babysit." "You'll have to change all those dirty diapers," said Muffy. "And you will probably start talking baby talk," said Francine. "Doo doo gaga boo boo." For the next few months, everywhere Arthur looked there were babies. More and more babies. "I think babies are taking over the world," said Arthur. "Don't look now," said Buster. "But you could be in for triple trouble." One day after school, D.W. grabbed Arthur's arm. "I'll teach you how to diaper a baby," she said. "Don't worry about diapers," said Mother. "Come sit next to me. I want to show you something." "Is that really me?" asked Arthur. "Yes," said Mother. "You are such a cute baby." "Look," said D.W. "This is me with Mommy and Daddy. Don't I look adorable?" That Saturday morning, Mother took out her suitcase. "Where are you going?" asked Arthur. "The baby could come any day now," said Mother. "I need to be ready for the hospital." "Here," said D.W., "something for you to look at while you're there." Sunday morning, Arthur and D.W. found Grandma Thora fixing breakfast. "You have a new sister," she said. "Yippee, yippee, yippee!" said DW. She'll be just like me. That's what I'm afraid of, said Arthur. The next day they went to the hospital to see the new baby. We named her Kate, said Father. I think she has your nose, Arthur. I think she has DW's mouth, said Arthur. On Tuesday, Mother and Father brought Kate home. Everyone was acting like they had never seen a baby before. Every time the doorbell rang, more presents arrived. They're not for you, Arthur, said DW. They're for the baby. Arthur, don't you want to try holding Kate? Mother asked. Can I have another turn first? Asked DW. It's Arthur's turn, Mother said. I'd rather look, said Arthur. It's just as well, said DW. Arthur doesn't know beans about babies. A few days later, Mother needed some help. I have to go upstairs, she said. Arthur, would you watch Kate? Me? Asked Arthur. What'd I do? Don't worry, said DW. I'll take care of everything. When the doorbell rang, DW answered the door. Arthur can't play, she said. He has to babysit. But you can come in and see my baby. Don't get too close, because you all have germs. And be quiet, DW said. My baby is sleeping. Look, said Francine. She opened her eyes. Stand back, said DW. She wants her bottle. Kate drank her bottle in a flash. Then she began to cry. Everyone remained calm, said DW. DW gave Kate a kiss. Kate cried louder. DW bounced Kate. Kate screamed. Arthur, quick, do something, DW said. She's your baby too. All of a sudden she's my baby, said DW. Why is she crying? Asked DW. She's trying to tell you something, said Arthur. What? Asked DW. Listen carefully, said Arthur. Burp, said Kate. Is everything all right? Asked Mother. It is now, Arthur answered. Arthur's birthday. I can't wait, said Arthur. Are you sure it's only Tuesday? See for yourself, said Mother. 4 more days until my birthday, said Arthur. I hope everyone can come to my birthday party. What kind of cake should I bake? Asked Grandma Thora. Chocolate, said Arthur. Have a good day at school, said Mother, smiling. And don't forget to hand out your invitations, said DW. Buster, can you come to my party? Asked Arthur. Are you kidding? Said Buster. Of course. Grandma's making chocolate cake, said Arthur. I'll be there, said the brain. I love chocolate. How about me? Asked Pinky Burns. You're invited, said Arthur. And Francine too. Oh boy, said Francine. We can play spin the bottle. Muffy, can you come to my birthday party? Arthur asked. Sure, Muffy answered. When is it? Saturday afternoon, Arthur said. I can't wait. This Saturday afternoon? But that's when I'm having my party, said Muffy. Oh no, said Arthur. You can't. Can't you change your party to another day? Are you kidding? Said Muffy. The rock band and Pickles the Clown have been booked for months. I can't change my party either, said Arthur. All my relatives are coming from Ohio. No one knew what to do. Should they go to Arthur's birthday party or Muffy's? Wednesday before school, the boys had a meeting. I think we should stick together, said Buster. Me too, said Binky. Right, said the Brain. We're all going to Arthur's party. But what about the girls? Asked Arthur. Who needs girls? Said Buster. The girls met out at the playground during lunch. Anyone who doesn't come to my party can be my friend, said Muffy. But it won't be as much fun without the boys, said Francine. Are you my friend or not? Asked Muffy. Thursday after school, Arthur and his mother picked out decorations for the party. Later, the delivery man brought a big box. Wow, this weighs a ton, said DW. In the mail, there were 3 birthday cards for Arthur. One was from Uncle Bud. When Arthur opened it, $3 bills fell out. Some people have all the luck, said DW. On the way home from school Friday, Arthur ran to catch up with Francine. I wish you could come to my party, said Arthur. I promised Muffy, said Francine, but I wish I could go to both. What's a party without boys? Wait a minute, said Arthur. I have an idea. That's great, said Francine. I'll help. They ran to Arthur's tree house. Arthur found pencils, paper, and envelopes. Let me write them, said Francine. It has to look like Muffy's handwriting. Okay, said Arthur, but be sure there's one for all the girls. That night, Arthur told his parents about his plan. Early the next morning, Arthur and Francine delivered their notes. One to Prunella, one to Sue Ellen, and one to Fern. The last note they delivered was a special one. All done, said Arthur. See you later, said Francine. Dear Muffy, I have a special present for you. It is so big I can't carry it by myself. Please come to my house today at noon to get it. Sincerely, Arthur. I smell pancakes, said Arthur when he got home. Your favorite, said Father. And maple syrup all the way from Ohio, said Aunt Bonnie. Happy birthday, said Cousin George. Time for birthday kisses, said Mother. And 8 birthday hugs, said Grandma Thora. Don't forget a pinch to grow an inch, said DW. Arthur stood by the window. It was almost noon. Someone's coming, he cried. It was Sue Ellen. What are you doing here? Asked Sue Ellen. What are you doing here? Asked Buster. It's a surprise for Muffy, said Francine, coming up behind them. It's a surprise for all of us, said the Brain. Everyone find a place to hide, said Arthur. Muffy will be here any minute. Shh, whispered Buster. "Here she comes." Arthur opened the door. "Hi, Arthur. I came to pick up my present," said Muffy. "Surprise!" shouted everyone. "Happy birthday, Muffy," said Arthur. "See, I told you your present is too big to carry. The rest of your party is on the way," said Francine. "After all," said Arthur, "what's a birthday party without all your friends?" "This is the best birthday ever," said Muffy. "We should do this every year." "But next year at your house," said Arthur's mom. "Time to open presents," said Francine. "I picked this one up especially for you. You have to promise me you'll use it right away." "Sure," said Arthur. "I can't wait." "Happy birthday, Arthur." Francine's spin the bottle game. Arthur's Chicken Pox. It was Monday morning, but Arthur's family was thinking about Saturday's trip to the circus. "I wonder if the knife thrower will be back," said Father. "The trapeze artists are my favorite," said Mother. "I like the clowns best," said Arthur. "I like the cotton candy," said D.W. Arthur thought about the circus in school too. For his art project he drew a picture of the circus. Then at lunch Arthur noticed he didn't feel very well. He went to the nurse's office. "You have a temperature," said the nurse. Then Arthur's dad arrived to take him home. "I'm going to get better fast," said Arthur. "I don't want to miss the circus." D.W. was surprised to see Arthur when she got home from playgroup. "What's wrong with you?" she asked. "You don't look sick to me." "But I feel sick," said Arthur. "I think you're faking," said D.W. At dinner time Arthur got to have chicken noodle soup on the sofa. "Why do I have to eat at the table?" asked D.W. "You're not sick," said Mother. "Well, I think Arthur is just pretending," said D.W. "Eat your spinach," said Father. The next morning Arthur was really sick. "Arthur has polka dots," said D.W., laughing. "Too bad he'll miss the circus." "I'll see if Grandma Thora can stop by later," said Mother. "She knows all about chicken pox." That afternoon Grandma Thora arrived. "I brought you some treats to help you feel better," she said. After school Arthur's friends stopped by with get well cards. Muffy brought Arthur all his homework. Father brought Arthur some stickers and cherry cough drops. "Can I have a cough drop?" asked D.W. "You're not sick," said Arthur. "I feel all itchy," said Arthur after dinner. "Try not to scratch," said Grandma Thora. "But I want to scratch," said Arthur. "I'll make a special soothing bath," said Grandma Thora. "That might help." Arthur was allowed to drink juice in the tub with a wacky straw. "If you're a good little boy and don't scratch your spots," said D.W., "I'll bring you home a balloon from the circus." After his bath Grandma Thora gave Arthur a back rub and told him a story. "I think I'm ready for my hot tea now," said Arthur. "Don't forget the extra honey, please." "Can I have a back rub too?" asked D.W. "Maybe later," said Grandma Thora. Right now, I have to get Arthur's tea. Suddenly, DW got an idea. She went to the bathroom and closed the door. First, DW put baby powder on her face to look pale. Then she looked through her marker box for a pink one. And she gave herself spots. Lots of spots. DW made loud moaning sounds as she came down the stairs. I don't feel well, she said. Good heavens, said Grandma Thora. You have them too. Let me take your temperature. When no one was looking, DW held the thermometer under hot water. Oh dear, said Grandma Thora when she read the thermometer. I feel itchy too, said DW. I think I need a soothing bath. Of course, said Grandma Thora. And how about some juice? asked DW. With a wacky straw? Of course, darling, said Grandma Thora. DW didn't notice that while she was in the tub, all her pink spots washed right off. But Grandma Thora noticed. Dora Winifred, she scolded. I'm very disappointed in you. Well, how's our little patient? DW asked Arthur the next afternoon. Still itchy, said Arthur, and still sick. That's too bad, said DW. She moved the telephone near Arthur. Excuse me, she said. I have to make an important call. Hello, Emily. I have an extra ticket for the circus on Saturday. Want to go with me? Great. Bye. Mom, moaned Arthur. DW is torturing me. By Friday, Arthur was feeling well enough to go out to dinner with his family. I guess I'll be going to the circus after all, he said. Oh, that's just grand, said Grandma Thora. DW, you'd better call Emily, said Mother. Maybe I should wait, said DW. Who knows? Arthur might get the flu. But Arthur didn't get the flu. The next morning, he was up early and dressed for the circus. Everyone else was ready for the circus too. Everyone except DW. Hurry up, DW, or we'll be late, called Mother. DW came down the stairs singing. It's cotton candy I love to eat. It's so squishy. It's so sweet. Mother just looked at DW. Oh boy, said Father. Good heavens, said Grandma Thora. Arthur started laughing. What's so funny? asked DW. Back to bed, young lady, said Mother. But what about the circus? cried DW. Don't worry, said Arthur. If you're a good little girl and don't scratch, I'll bring you home a balloon. Arthur's Christmas. Arthur and DW had been in the drugstore a long time. For heaven's sake, DW said, this store is full of presents. Pick one and let's go. It has to be just right, said Arthur. I want Santa to like it. Well, hurry up, said DW. I want to get home and see if Grandma's there and how many presents she brought me. At home, DW added 10 more things she wanted to her Christmas list and copied it over in red pencil. Arthur and DW cheered when they heard the car in the driveway. Grandma, Are there presents in there for me? asked D.W. Grandma, do you think Santa would like new mittens or gloves? asked Arthur. Whatever happened to "Hello, I'm glad to see you"? asked Grandma Thora. After dinner, everyone relaxed. Look, said D.W. I teached Killer a trick. Taught, said Grandma. You taught Killer a trick. But D.W. didn't hear. She had seen something on television to add to her list. Arthur, what's the matter? asked Grandma. I haven't found the right gift for Santa, said Arthur. Only 2 shopping days left, reminded D.W. The next day Arthur, D.W., and their friends went shopping. Killer went too. Arthur searched the entire store and still couldn't find the perfect gift for Santa. What's the big problem? asked D.W. I can see 100 things I want. Let's go tell Santa. Santa, what would you like for Christmas? asked Arthur. Ho, 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 laughed Santa. You just leave the giving to me. D.W. had her picture taken patting Santa's tummy. Buster was next. Santa, be careful coming down the chimney at our house. My parents always forget to put out the fire. Ho, 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 said Santa. Don't worry, I'll use the front door. Then it was Francin's turn. Have you been a good little girl? asked Santa. Oh, yes, smiled Francine. I'm always good. Always? asked Santa. Afterward, Buster treated them all to ice cream. Arthur could hardly finish his root beer float. He had only one more shopping day. Look, said Francine. Santa eats ice cream. I'll have a banana split with 6 scoops of bubblegum ice cream, said Santa, with double hot fudge, whipped cream, and nuts. I'll say he eats ice cream, said D.W. At home, Arthur asked his family for help. How about a nice colorful tie? said Father. Aftershave is always a good gift, said Mother. I bet Santa could use some toasty warm long johns, said Grandma. Arthur, you're taking this shopping too seriously, said D.W. Just do what I do. Get everyone the same thing. That afternoon, everyone was getting ready to go caroling. But Arthur didn't have time for Christmas carols. Time was running out. Please come along, begged D.W. I'll be the only kid. And besides, Mrs. Teeble always gives us a present and hot chocolate. Arthur went window shopping instead, hoping that would give him an idea for Santa's present. Santa was ho-ho-hoing and drinking a diet root beer at the car wash. Moments later, Santa was at the Golden Chopstick, eating some-gum chow-goo. Santa must have run to the deli at the corner of North and Main. The waitress shouted Santa's order to the cook. Catch a fish, hit it with rye, and put a pair of shoes on it. Santa sure eats a lot, thought Arthur. Finally, Arthur went home. He hadn't seen a single thing in any of the store windows he thought Santa would like. Santa was on TV eating Papa Piper's pickled peppers. That's it, said Arthur. He started making his list. Arthur counted his money. D.W., he said in his sweetest voice. "Okay, how much do you need?" asked DW. "But only if you promise to stop being such a grouch." The next morning, Arthur gave DW half of his list. He took the other half. DW had to keep Killer out of the kitchen while Arthur made Santa's present. "What's all that noise?" asked Father. "Arthur is making a mess," reported DW. The kitchen door opened, and Arthur sneezed. "Mom, how many cups of pepper in pickled peppers?" he asked. "Maybe I should help," said Mother. "No, please," said Arthur. "I want to make Santa's present myself. Just tell me how many sticks of gum in sub gum chow goo." "Poor Santa," said DW. Hours later, Arthur whistled while he set the table for Santa. "What's that?" asked Father. "Pickled peppers, a hot fudge sundae on bubble gum ice cream, and sub gum chow goo. I sort of combined Santa's favorite foods," Arthur explained. "What's that big lumpy thing that's moving?" asked Grandma. "A pizza to go," said Arthur, "with everything on it. If you want Santa to come, you'd better go to bed," said Mother. "If we want Santa to come," thought DW, "we'd better do something about that food." DW couldn't fall asleep. "I have to do something," she thought. "Poor Arthur worked so hard. But if Santa gets one whiff of Arthur's present, he'll never set foot in the dining room, much less eat any of it." Careful to miss the squeaky step, DW tiptoed downstairs in the dark. The next morning, Arthur was the first one up. "Santa ate it all!" he cried. "And he left a note." "Dear Arthur, you were so nice to take the time to find out my favorite foods and make them. Thank you. You also teached me about the Christmas spirit. Love, Santa. P.S. Aren't you lucky to have such a nice little sister?" Arthur's family vacation. It was Arthur's last day of school. Mr. Radburn gave the class a surprise spelling test. All the other classes were having parties. "Finally, the moment you've all been waiting for," said Mr. Radburn. "Report card and—" "School's out!" Everyone cheered. "I can't wait for baseball practice to start," said Francine. "I'm taking a college computer course," the brain announced. "I'll really miss you at Camp Meadowcroft this year, Arthur," Buster said. "I wish I didn't have to go on vacation with my family," said Arthur. "There'll be nothing to do and no one to do it with. You'll have DW," Buster said, smiling, "for a whole week." "Don't remind me," said Arthur. Arthur's family spent that night packing. "I wish I could take my doll house," said DW. "I wish Buster could come," said Arthur. "This is a family vacation," said Mother. "All we need for fun is each other," said Father. "Let's take my swing set," said DW. "We can all use that." "Well, we're all packed," Father said the next morning. "Where's Arthur?" "He's on the phone with Buster," said Mother. "For the 100th time. DW added. Before we leave, said Father, does anyone need to use the bathroom? This is your last chance, said Mother. Don't look at me, said DW. On our way at last, Mother smiled. A whole week of no cooking. And no dishes, said Father. A whole week without my best friend in the whole wide world, moaned Arthur. Once you're at the beach, you'll feel better, Father said. Are we there yet? Asked DW. I have to go to the bathroom. Arthur spent the rest of the trip thinking about how much fun Buster must be having at camp. We're here, said Mother. Welcome to the ocean view, said the manager. Where's the ocean? Asked Father. Just across the highway behind that shopping center, the manager pointed. But there's a pool right here. Well, I guess I'll go swimming, said Arthur. Me too, said DW. Wait for me. Let's see our room first, said Mother. You mean we all have to stay in this puny little room? Asked DW. Don't worry, said Mother. We'll only be sleeping here. If you want to swim, said Arthur, hurry up and get your suit on. We have the whole pool to ourselves, said Arthur. It's a good thing, too, said DW. Our bathtub is bigger than this. That night at dinner, everyone ordered lobster. Buster loves lobster, said Arthur. This is lobster, said DW. I want a hot dog. Can we go to the beach tomorrow? Arthur asked. Good idea, said Father. I'm sure the rain will stop by then. No beach today, DW announced the next morning. I had a dream about Buster, said Arthur. Why don't you write him a postcard? Mother suggested. Why don't we all write postcards? Said Father. But what do we write about? Said DW. We haven't done anything yet. Dear Buster, I bet you're having fun at camp. I wish I were there. Your best friend Arthur. Dear Grandma Thora, you were smart to stay home. XXOXOXO love, DW. What do we do now? Said DW. This vacation is a disaster. At camp, there's always something fun to do, thought Arthur, even on rainy days. That's it, he said. I'm taking us on a field trip. I never heard of a cow festival, DW said. But at least it's more fun than our motel room. Say cheese, said Father. Let's hurry or we'll miss the milking contest, said Arthur. For the next few days, it rained and rained, but Arthur didn't mind. He was too busy planning new places to go. He forgot all about missing Buster. On Wednesday, they went to Gatorville. At least the alligators get to swim, said DW. Thursday was busy too. After touring Flo's Fudge Factory, they all went on Jimmy's Jungle Cruise. I never realized there are so many fun things to do in the rain, said Father. I want to plan a field trip too, said DW. to the movies." But when they got there, DW was too scared to watch. "I thought it was a movie about fish," she whispered. Finally, on Friday, their last day, the sun came out. "What a day!" said Father. "Just glorious," said Mother. Even DW was having fun. No one wanted to leave, but the next day they packed up and headed home. "We're almost there," said Mother. "Phew!" said DW. "I really have to go to the bathroom." "Oh boy," said Arthur. "I can't wait to see Buster." As soon as they got home, the doorbell rang. It was Buster. "Camp was fun, but I missed you," he said to Arthur. "How was your vacation? How did you and DW get along?" "Great," said Arthur. "Take a look." "Wow," said Buster. "You really did have a great time." Arthur goes to camp. "I'm not going," said Arthur. "Arthur, you'll love camp. Think of all the new friends you'll make," said his mother. "I have fond memories of my own camp days," said Arthur's father. "Camp will teach you about the great outdoors. I'm not going." Arthur was at the camp bus stop the next morning. Buster was standing with a new kid. "He's got 100 comic books in his foot locker," squealed Buster, pointing to the brain. Francine was there too. "You guys better watch out. Tent 3 is full of bats and snakes," she yelled out the window. "It's going to be just like school." The girls against the boys, thought Arthur. When the bus passed Camp Horsewater, even the girls stopped teasing. "Look at those guys," said Buster. "They are going to be in great shape for our scavenger hunt. No wonder they always win." "That's no camp. That's a zoo," said Arthur. "Dear Mom and Dad, I'm not at camp yet. I'm very homesick and I miss you very much. Please write soon. Love, Arthur." Things were different at Camp Meadow Crock. Well, at least for the girls. "I'll do my best to make this a wonderful summer for you," said the girls' counselor, Becky. Even Muffy looked eager when she pulled up in her limousine. "Where do I plug in my air conditioner?" she hollered. The boys' counselor was a different story. "Attention, men! Line up!" barked Rocky. "Stand up straight! Suck in those guts! I've never seen such a soft, flabby bunch. No dessert for you men this summer." Muffy had brought her own dessert. After a dinner that tasted like macaroni and fleas and warm burgers, she opened her trunk. The girls dug in. At bedtime Muffy discovered the tent had no electricity. "How will I brush my teeth?" she moaned. The boys were too tired from all their running and push-ups to think of brushing their teeth. They crawled under the covers. Arthur screamed. "Amphibians? How fascinating," said the brain. "No, they're frogs," said Buster. "Just wait until we get hold of these girls," said Arthur. Dear Mom and Dad, camp is terrible just like I thought. The food is bad. I'm still very homesick. Please come and get me. Love, Arthur. Forget about the frogs, said the girls. You guys better worry about the softball game instead. The girls were beating the boys at everything. Disgusting, said Rocky. I'll never live this down. In fact, all that week the girls were great campers. They built campfires, pitched tents, tied knots, identified plants. All the boys could find was poison ivy. Rocky hid in his cabin. Arthur wrote postcards home. Dear Mom and Dad, I miss you and I cried when I read your letter. When are you coming to get me? Camp is gross. Love, Arthur. Arthur had a lot to write about. The frogs in his bed were bad enough, but now really weird things were happening. The girls thought the boys threw a smoke bomb into their tent. The boys thought the girls took all their clothes. But one night everybody heard strange noises and footsteps in the woods. It had to be someone else. Dear Mom and Dad, this place gives me the creeps. I've got to get out of here. Love, Arthur. Everyone was too scared to tell ghost stories. We have to do something, said the brain. Let's stand watch tonight and find out what's going on. So that's it, Camp Horse Water, whispered Buster. They've been trying to scare us all along. Don't worry, we'll fix them tomorrow at the scavenger hunt, said the brain. I've got a plan, but we'll need the girls' help. Arthur had a plan too. He decided to run away. Dear Mom and Dad, I decided not to wait for you to come and get me. I think I can remember how to get home. Love, Arthur. The next morning, Becky read the list of things to find. And be back at sunset, she said. The brain nudged Francine. Time for phase 1 of the plan, he whispered. Watch out for bears. The woods are full of them. She yelled to the Horsewater kids. They just laughed. Nobody noticed Arthur sneaking away. Everybody was in the woods looking for things. Strange noises started coming from the bushes. Suddenly, a huge, furry animal burst from the underbrush. A bear! Hollered Muffy and Buster and Francine, trying not to giggle. When the Middle Croc team started hunting again, the bear helped too. How can you wear this coat, Muffy? The brain's voice floated out from the fur. It's so hot. It's never too hot for mink. Muffy grinned. Our plan really worked, but we still haven't found the flashlight. And has anyone seen Arthur? Said Buster. It doesn't matter if the Horsewater team never comes down from the trees. We can't win if we don't have everything, groaned Francine. Meanwhile, it was getting dark and Arthur was lost. He heard strange noises. Were they footsteps? Arthur reached into his backpack for his flashlight. He snapped it on. A flashlight! We won! 3 cheers for Arthur! Dear Mom and Dad, the scavenger hunt was great. Camp is great. I want to come back next year. Love, Arthur. Arthur meets the president. Listen carefully, class, said Mr. Redburn. This is a national contest, so do your best work. I love contests, said Muffy. What do I win? The winner visits the White House in Washington, said Mr. Redburn. What do we write about? Asked Arthur. The subject is, How can I help make America great? Said Mr. Redburn. Everyone started writing. Arthur started thinking. He thought about the time he and D.W. helped old Mrs. Teeble clean her yard. He thought about how much more they could do in the neighborhood if the whole class helped. Then he began to write. Weeks later, when Mr. Henny, the principal, was opening the mail, his hands began to shake. "It's a letter from the President," he gasped. Miss Tingley, the secretary, fainted. Prunella, who was in the office with a stomach ache, suddenly got better. "Open it!" she shouted. Mr. Henny clicked on the PA system. "Attention, everyone! The President of the United States has written to announce the winner of the How I Can Help Make America Great contest. And the winner is our very own Arthur. He and his class are invited to attend a special ceremony at the White House." Mr. Redburn's class went wild. "Congratulations, Arthur," said Mr. Redburn. "You'll have to work hard to memorize your paper so you can recite it to the President next Wednesday." "Memorize? Recite?" asked Arthur. "Of course," said Mr. Redburn. "We'll all be there cheering you on." "You are on TV," screamed D.W. when Arthur got home. "Listen." He will recite his winning essay to the President and all of America. The announcer was saying. "I feel sick," said Arthur. "Not as sick as you'll feel when you're giving your speech," said D.W. "There's so much to do before we leave," said Mother. "Arthur, you'll need a new suit." "What about me?" asked D.W. "I need to look beautiful when I meet the President." "The President is very busy," explained the father. "He'll only have time to meet Arthur and hear him recite his essay." "If I can remember it," said Arthur. "Of course you can," said Father. "Just relax. Pretend I'm the President and practice right now." The thought of sitting next to the President made Arthur's mind go blank. Uh, he said. "Uh-oh," said D.W. Monday at school, everyone was busy planning the trip. "Oh boy, no homework for 3 days," said Francine. "Not quite," said Mr. Redburn. Everyone groaned. "Each of you will have to do a report," he explained. "As we tour Washington on Wednesday, you will be our guides. So get to work. I'll see you all at the airport tomorrow morning." Arthur tried to study his speech on the plane. "Don't forget to mention me to the President for the Teacher of the Year award," Mr. Redburn reminded him. "Aren't you excited?" asked Buster. "I'm too nervous to be excited," said Arthur. You need help, said D.W. I'll make the speech for you. I have a lot of ideas about how to run the country. That night at the hotel, Arthur was too worried to sleep. What in the world are you doing? Asked Father. What if I forget my speech and the president laughs at me? Arthur asked. The president would never laugh at you, said Father. Why don't you write your speech on note cards and keep them in your pocket? He suggested, just in case. What a great idea, said Arthur. He felt much better. Now try not to worry and go to sleep, said Mother. The next morning, everyone met in front of the Jefferson Memorial. Arthur, you look so handsome, said Francine. Ready to meet the president? Said Mr. Redburn. I guess, said Arthur. He reached into his pocket to make sure the note cards were there. Time for your reports, called Mr. Redburn. Only one more hour until we are due at the White House. Our first stop is the Washington Monument, the tallest building in Washington, explained Francine. 898 steps to the top. Everyone ready? Are you kidding? Said D.W. I'm taking the elevator. This is the Capitol, where Congress makes the nation's laws, said Sue Ellen. I think we all know how important it is to obey the law, said Mr. Redburn. The National Museum of Natural History has great mummies, said Buster. Follow me. No thanks, said Muffy. I'll meet you at the gift shop. The last stop was the White House. It's so big, said Arthur. Not as big as Muffy's house, said D.W. The White House has 132 rooms, said the Brain. Every president except George Washington has lived here. It has a barber shop, clinic, indoor pool, theater, gym, and its own library. And the president's office has fancy gold curtains just like the ones in our living room, said Muffy. Excuse me, said the president's secretary. The president is arriving. Please follow me to the rose garden. Arthur gulped. It was almost time. He took out his note cards. Suddenly, a strong wind blew through the garden. Here comes the president, squealed Muffy. My speech, gasped Arthur. Relax, said Mr. Redburn. You'll be fine. D.W. wasn't so sure. He had a plan. Arthur had never seen so many important-looking people. Good afternoon, Mr. President, he began. When I think about what I can do to make America great, Arthur began to feel very warm. His knees began to shake. His mind went blank. This is the worst day of my life, he thought. Suddenly, Buster giggled. Soon, everyone else joined it. Even the president was laughing. Arthur turned bright red. And when Arthur saw what they were laughing at, he laughed too. Now Arthur felt much better. He recited his whole speech without forgetting a single word. And in conclusion, he said, We can all help make America great by helping others. Good, said D.W. Then help me down. Arthur's eyes. This is Arthur before he got glasses. He looked fine, but he couldn't see very well. Sometimes he got headaches. Arthur had to hold his book so close that his nose got in the way. He couldn't see the board. Francine had to read Arthur the problems. "Are you blind?" she always asked. Francine got every problem right. Arthur didn't. No one wanted to play with Arthur. Arthur's father and mother took him to the optometrist. Dr. Iris tested Arthur's eyes. "You need glasses," said Dr. Iris. Arthur tried on all kinds of frames. He chose the ones he liked best. "You look very handsome in your new glasses," said his father. "Everything looks clearer," said Arthur. His mother told him he looked very smart. But the next morning his friends laughed at him. Francine called him Four Eyes. "Sissy!" shouted Buster. None of Arthur's friends wore glasses. No one in his family wore glasses either. Arthur felt awful. He didn't care if he could see. He didn't want to be called Four Eyes. Arthur decided he would lose his glasses. Arthur put his shirt in the laundry. In the front pocket were his glasses. His mother found them the next morning. "You have to be more careful, Arthur. You're lucky they weren't broken." That day at school, Arthur hid his glasses in his lunchbox. He told his teacher he forgot them. But now things were harder to see than ever. When Arthur walked down the hall to the boys' room, he had to count the doors. He opened the door. Francine was talking. What was Francine doing in the boys' room? "Get out of here!" screamed Francine. "This is the girls' room." Arthur bumped into the wall. He couldn't find the door. Now all the girls were screaming. Out in the hall, doors opened. Teachers ran out. The principal appeared. Everyone was looking at Arthur. Arthur turned red. He wanted to hide. The principal took Arthur to his office. Then Arthur's teacher talked to him. "Why don't you keep your glasses in a case in your pocket, as I do?" he asked. "You wear glasses?" asked Arthur. "Yes, for reading," said his teacher. He took them out. They looked just like Arthur's, brown. Suddenly, Arthur felt better. He went to his lunchbox and put on his glasses. In gym, Arthur made 10 baskets. Francine made 4. That afternoon, Arthur didn't need Francine to read the problems on the board. He got everyone right. Arthur could see Francine's paper. She missed 2. After school, Francine asked Arthur to be on her team. "I'll consider it," said Arthur. The next morning, Arthur was very surprised when he saw Francine. "They're my movie star glasses," said Francine. But there isn't any glass in them, said Arthur. It doesn't matter. They help me concentrate and make me look beautiful, said Francine. That afternoon, a photographer took the class picture. Just a minute, said Arthur. He took out his glasses. He carefully polished them and put them on. Everyone ready? Asked the photographer. Wait, said Francine. She ran to get her purse. She took out her movie star glasses. Okay, I'm ready too, said Francine. Smile, said the photographer. Arthur writes a story. Arthur's teacher, Mr. Redburn, explained the homework. What should the story be about? Arthur asked. Anything, Mr. Redburn said. Write about something that is important to you. Write a story. 1. Have a beginning, a middle, and an end. 2. Use details. 3. Be creative. Arthur started his story the minute he got home. He knew exactly what he wanted to write about. How I got my puppy pal. I always wanted a dog, but first I had to prove I was responsible. So I started Arthur's pet business. My mom made me keep all the animals in the basement. It was a lot of work, but it was fun until I thought I'd lost Perky. But then I found her, and she had 3 puppies, and I got to keep one of them. That's how I got my dog pal. The end. Arthur read his story to D.W. That's a boring story, D.W. said. Does it have to be real life? Because your life is so dull. I don't want to write a boring story, said Arthur. If it were me, D.W. suggested, I'd make the story about getting an elephant. The next day, Arthur read his new story to Buster. Did you like the part about the elephant puppies? He asked. It's okay, I guess, said Buster. I'm writing a cool story about outer space. Maybe my story should take place on the moon, thought Arthur. On Wednesday, Arthur read his newest story to the brain. Scientifically speaking, elephants would weigh less on the moon, but wouldn't float that high, said the brain. So you don't like it? Asked Arthur. A good story should be well researched, said the brain, like mine. If I had a pet stegosaurus in the Jurassic period. Arthur hurried to the library. What are all those books for? Asked Francine. Research, said Arthur. I'm writing about my pet 5-toed mammal of the genus Loxodonta. Your what? Asked Francine. My elephant, Arthur explained. Oh, said Francine. I'm putting jokes in my story. All through dinner, Arthur worried about his story. Please pass the corn, asked father. Corn, that's it, said Arthur. Purple corn and blue elephants on planet Schmalfant. Now that's funny. Arthur is acting weirder than usual, said D.W. On Thursday, everyone at the sugar bowl was talking about their stories. Last year, a kid wrote a country western song for her story, said Prunella, and she got an A+. How do you know? asked Arthur. "That kid was me," explained Prunella. "Mr. Redburn said I should send it to a record company. It was that good." "Wow," said Arthur. That night Arthur's imagination went wild. He decided to turn his story into a song. He even made up a dance to go with it. Later, he tried it out on his family. Now this little boy can go home and enjoy his own personal striped elephant, and you'll see how happy he'll be here on planet Schmalfiend. "Well," said Arthur, "what do you think?" Mother and Father smiled. "It's nice," said Grandma Thora, "but a little confusing." "Too bad you can't dance," said D.W. "What am I going to do?" said Arthur. "My story is due tomorrow." That night Arthur didn't sleep very well. The next day Arthur worried until Mr. Redburn finally called on him. When Arthur's song and dance was over, the classroom was so quiet. It was almost spooky. Binky raised his hand. "Did that really happen?" "Sort of," said Arthur. "It started as the story of how I got my dog." "I'd like to hear that story," said Mr. Redburn. "The title was How I Got My Puppy Pal," said Arthur. Arthur told how proud he was of his pet business and how scared he was when Perky disappeared. And he told how happy he was to find her under his bed and how surprised he was to see her 3 puppies. "And the best part is," said Arthur, "I got to keep one." Buster said, "I like that story better than your other one." "Great story," said Binky. "I think Arthur's story was the best," said Francine. "Good work," said Mr. Redburn. "Of course, I expect you to write it all down by Monday." Then Mr. Redburn gave Arthur a gold sticker. "Oh, and one more thing," he said. "Leave out the dancing."